Hey, what's up, Lits? I am filming this. It is 7:52 p.m. December 29th, 2015. I guess I'm saying that, so if I watch this when I'm older, I have a record of exactly when I'm making this sentiment. But I've had this sentiment for a while, and that is about joining this fandom. Because, in this last month, I am realizing as it's been getting closer to the end of the new year, and I realized that I joined the Librarians fandom at Valentine's Day when season 2 got announced. And it's been almost a year. It was February. And I've been reflecting a lot about what has happened this year. And I just wanted to talk about that because you guys are literally the most wonderful fandom that I have ever had the pleasure to be a part of. And I wanted to talk about why and my experiences and how my life and experiences, fandom experiences, have changed since I joined this fandom. So before the Librarians, my biggest fandom was for Once Upon a Time. And, I mean, while I liked that show at the time, it was about 3 years that I was absolutely in love with that show. As obsessed with that show as I am with the Librarians now, but I think Librarians has surpassed it a little bit. There was a ship in there that I shipped as much as Gisandra. I was highly obsessed, and I was very involved in the fandom, as I am in the Librarians fandom. But it was never a good fandom. I mean, it was a big fandom. So people were always fighting, and there was ship wars, and it was literally the nastiest fandom I have ever been a part of. And then that show went and disappointed me, and I ended up hating the show. And so I really had this bitter taste in my mouth for getting involved with television shows, just always afraid that they were going to disappoint me, like that one disappointed me. And I still have fears. I'm still having trust issues watching the second season of The Librarians, constantly worrying that something is going to go wrong for my love of this show. But basically in terms of the fandom, I remember back last November, over a year ago now, watching the TV and seeing commercials for the Librarians, and it was actually completely different from what I expected it to be. They were just showing the Librarians, and I'm like, cool, this is about crime-fighting librarians, and I'm just a bookworm, and I knew nothing about the movies, I knew nothing about the show whatsoever, but the first episode premiered right after Christmas, I believe, and I was on a cruise after Christmas last year, so I came home, and I had, first 4 episodes on the DVR, and I started watching it with my parents, and instantly I fell in love. The show was so amazing. I was just like, wow. And then, once, whenever my parents, they usually don't, watch shows live, so if, we don't have shows on a DVR, I will watch them alone so I can watch it live and in time. And the first episode I watched live of The Librarians was episode 5, and the Apple of Discord, which happens to be, my most favorite episode of all time. Maybe not anymore with some of the ones we got in season 2. But I'm getting so off track here because I wanted to talk about the fandom. But so that was in January. Actually, it was probably in January of this year because I was on the cruise through New Year's. And then, the season ended. And I didn't really talk about it on Tumblr because I didn't know that anybody else was interested in the show. I knew my best friend watched it. But, Amy, you met her in the last episode. But that was it. And then I remember in February, I was in musical rehearsal for my school musical at the time, and I get a text from my mom with the picture that they put up that Librarians was getting season 2. I started jumping up and down because I was so happy that this show was going to continue for me. And so I got home and I made a post about it on Tumblr, how Librarians season 2, and people started reblogging it, and I discovered that, wow, there's a fandom for this. And then I got involved in the Librarians Valentine's Day gift exchange, and I created my first playlist for the Librarians, and I wrote my first fan fiction for the Librarians, which is an Evelyn fan fiction called Forever, about them getting engaged. And then, as time went on, I started getting more and more involved in the fandom. People were blogging my stuff. I was talking about it more. I started writing a lot of fan fictions and people were responding to them. I was making fan videos. I made my first fan video probably in March around time. I made a video of Jake and Cassandra with set 2 on my own. I think I remember that the first post that I made that really got me involved in the fandom because it got 200 reblogs, was this little post that said Jake and Cassandra be like, at least out loud I won't say I'm in love, and the fans are like, who you think you're kidding, he's the earth and heaven too, basically comparing, Jake and Cassandra to Hercules and Meg with I won't say I'm in love, and it got this huge response, and I'm like, wow, other people ship Jake and Cassandra, because, when I was watching the show, I've never really had a non-canon ship before, so it started with them for me, like, well, thinking they were going to be together, because usually if there was something that was that intense, I was used to the ship getting together, so when they didn't, this was kind of a whole new experience for me, and I think that really got me settled in the fandom. The point being here, that's how I entered into the fandom, and then I started talking to people, and people were blogging my stuff, and, and there have been other fandoms where I feel ignored, but you guys don't really make me feel like that. I mean, my stuff always gets reblogged. I talk to a lot of people about the show every day, on and off the internet, with my friends and my Tumblr friends, and I can't even put into words how happy I am that I joined this fandom. So as time went on, we were all theorizing about season 2, writing a lot of fan fiction, reading a lot of fan fiction, and you know what? I never read fan fiction. I only ever wrote it, and last year and this summer, I found myself spending literally, all of my time. Every day I would wake up, check for new Cassandra fanfiction. Every night before I go to sleep, check for new Cassandra. I was reading it all the time, and that has slowed down a lot since season 2 started, but I'm figuring in the hiatus it will pick up again. But yeah, it got me reading fanfiction, which has stopped me from reading my actual books a little bit, but it also made me really happy. Back at the end of 2014, last few months of 2014, I was going through a rough patch. I was getting pretty depressed, and it was getting bad. But, I went on my cruise, I got back, and I realized I felt better. But 2015 for me was really a year about journeying to make sure I was happy, and make sure that I didn't get to that place again. And I have come close a couple of times, but I never really got to a point where I couldn't make myself happy easily. And I think maybe the Librarians has a large part to do with that, because I suddenly find this fandom that even looking at a picture of the two characters for, a second will stop me from crying. I remember, one day recently, I was crying about something that was going on with my friends. My mom was trying to comfort me, it wasn't working, and I took out my phone and I pulled up my picture of Jake and Cassandra, and instantly I was smiling, and within a minute, I was totally just back to obsessing about the show. So I don't really care how obsessed I am with the Librarians and how crazy it gets, because it keeps me happy. And again, you guys have such a large part to do with that. I've always said I love small fandoms, because, in small fandoms, you get to interact with a lot more people, and everybody knows each other, and I pretty much feel like I know, a lot of us know each other by first name, and there's, a group of us in the fandom, I know you guys. When people reblog my stuff from the Librarians, I recognize the usernames. I know who you are, and that really makes me excited. I've been in small fandoms before, I've been in the Kingdom Keepers fandom, which is also a small fandom, but this fandom has just been so amazing, and I keep saying that, but I am reflecting because it's the end of 2015, and I'm looking back and realizing that 2015 was the year that I fell in love with the Librarians and the Librarians fandom, and as time went on in 2015, I gradually became more and more obsessed with the show, where maybe sometime in the spring, I realized that it was my favorite show. And to have a favorite show again, because to admit, I was still calling Once Upon a Time my favorite show, because I really didn't have another show that I loved as much as I had loved that show, and even though I hated the show and I stopped watching it even, I was still saying, oh, it was my favorite show, because, I really didn't have another show to call my favorite. For a few months, I was calling Friends my favorite show after I watched Friends when it went on Netflix. 10 seasons, 2 months, but not going to talk about that. And then I realized The Librarians is my favorite show, and I realized that the level of obsession that I used to have with Once Upon a Time, that Librarians had reached that level, except I was comparing the two and just noting how happy the Librarians made me, how great of a show it was. So that's just what I've been saying, thinking now that it's the end of the year and looking back. 2015 in my life was a year of growth, and it was also the year of the Librarians for me. And yeah, so I remember gradually going on and on. I started making fan videos, I started writing fan fictions, reading fan fictions, and you guys, the response to the fan fictions and stuff was so great. You guys always had such wonderful things to say. I have never seen an ounce of hate anywhere in this fandom. Never seen people arguing. We all just get along, and it's really such a wonderful experience. And I really wanted to thank you guys for giving me such a wonderful year. And I know this video, the things that I'm thinking, the words are not coming out well. This is just all on the spot, and I've been thinking about it. But basically, what I'm making a sentiment of is how I fell in love with the Librarians in 2015. And I loved over the summer as set pictures were coming out, theorizing about season 3, freaking out about season 3 with you guys. I mean, season 2. I'm thinking about season 3 is where we're going to be. We were freaking out about season 2 with the set pictures. And then the episodes started, and I got to experience the episodes live with you guys, which is not something I got in season 1. It was a whole new experience. And yes, 2015 for me was the year of the Librarians and the Librarians fandom, and how I grew to fall in love with that fandom. I think one of the biggest experiences for me was when I wrote my first Librarians multi-chap, which was End the Blood of the Gorgons. And that was really what started me on my path to thinking Gisandra was, oh, they could be cute together too. Oh my god, I have never shipped anything so hard in my entire life. But I wrote this multi-chap called End the Blood of the Gorgons, and the response to that was incredible. So much more than I could have expected. And wow, and the other great experience I had this year was writing my Drabble collection and the Holly Jolly Christmas, where I posted one short, one shot every day relating to a Christmas event with the Lits, and the response to that was so much more than I could have imagined. You guys were so wonderful, and I just feel so accepted, and I love this show so much, and I am so glad I decided to start watching it this year, at the beginning of this year, and I am so glad, looking back, I am so glad of where I have come from the beginning of this year to the end of this year, in terms of my love for this show. And so, that's it. I just wanted to reflect about 2015 and falling in love with the show. And I hope these experiences continue, and I do believe they will. And I cannot wait to keep moving forward with you guys in 2016 and then experience season 3 together. I love this cast. I've fallen in love with the cast, following the cast on social media, the way they interact. It's just the evolution of my love for the show. And to think that a year ago today, I hadn't even watched a single episode of it is like, wow. So that's it for me, Lits. I hope you all have a very happy new year. And I am thinking about doing a different Librarians vlog every Sunday, even though the episodes aren't up now. I'm really enjoyed doing these videos with you. So that's it. And again, have a very, very happy new year. And thank you so much for the experiences that you've given me. Bye.